Aphids of Posy against Posy.
Every poet's precious, hold them by their tails, or give them little kisses, make them to collaborate.
If poetry as public speech is a ravaged luminosity, say the loch's surface reflected on a tourist, only less camera and beetling cloudscape. If poetry as public speech is heaven was what was expected, vain was what was just had, just vain, 1 inch, only less tubular than collaboration.
Poetry should possibly be included in the deficit. Hands out for lyrically disenchanted, factored into treasury calculations. If the public is a kind of speech act salvaged by the honesty of the reflective surfaces of the eyes of moon-eyed ravers, beetling before the cameras of cops, and public officials collaborating with the state in a moment of performative deteriorization,
heaven was what was
spreading.
expected, vain was what was had, just vain, 1 inch, only less tubular than collaboration. Can you
clap between the poems? Could you just clap, actually? I just don't know what to do with my face if you don't.
Know then that collaboration is a clapping headstone, a kind of hostis of technical tentacles, a tablet inbox cleared by scratches, by candlelight.
The main ceiling lights flicker to the pulse of management usury, hie thee to a workshop on panic despondency.
It is.
Dying is
grooming. Babe, can you zip up my plume?
Yeah.
Can you do these heels make me look like I'm crying jawbones?
No,
do you think we should bring them a rose brimming with nosebleed blood? Can you remember if they brought us one? I've been trying to remember.
I've been trying to write a poem about you that's lacking in lust, that has a point of reference outside of itself, which is you, not the rhetorical you, and me, the real me-mesis, not cornered in a self that, frankly, even as a feminist, I'm getting tired of problematizing.
Dave, you look tired. Listen, you go block all light entering Lucy's space, lacing her edge with a fringe of shuttering locusts. I'll cast my seed upon our coin, till depth to waterboard Dennis income be achieved.
I'm being devastated by the hard lines of words and the absorbing whiteness of it all. The sheet, the false mirror suck of the context of these blocks waiting to be filled for me to touch them into being and say something that I couldn't just say because it doesn't exist yet. How could it?
Simply gimmick ping-pong swish. Eyeball into half sphere, invert and stitch. The collaborator's eye faces inward, dilates to the margin like Mandy, and has no need to blink as it can just glitch.
One thing which went wrong is that I've been trying to construct a metaphor around the way that keys on a keyboard are sort of pressed to make letters, which make words, which a word processor can then decipher and register. It probably involves electromagnetism or code or something, and there's just no way of Googling of it that just doesn't lead nowhere. Like, I've tried how does word work, and how do we make writing, and computer typing science, and how does word, which was actually a typo, and I just got nothing. So I've got no metaphor, I've barely got any poem at all.
Or, as Marx would have had it, collaboration barely compares you to a sizz with some booze at a rave. Marx was a cute couple, supposed to say something about...
The poem was actually supposed to say something about form, about meaning, filling up its neat, preformed box, and the relatively limited materials we have to work with, and the way that language ultimately blocks communication. And I was going to fill the sort of the serious space in the middle with some pasted scientific words and dialectics, like all the poetry I've ever read or written. But as I've no idea how it works, there's no hope for my metaphor. But there is still a poem for you. It's not disappointing, it's not vacuous, it's not me, and it's not you, it's really for the reader who is being a brat.
I'm so sick of these poetry boys, blowing me their whispers like it's some kind of new sentient wretch. Babe, I viciously defended your interest. I feel bad.
Babe, you didn't have to do that for me, but that's amazing. You must not feel bad, by the way. I viciously defended your interest too. Do you think that was wrong?
It's a funny one. I mean, you need to do what you need to do. I know that sounds cliched, but this really is one of those situations. You are really beautiful for considering the implications of viciously defending my interests. Most people wouldn't do that. The worst thing is...
Well, the worst thing about this poem is it might actually throw the whole thing out. Like, this is me at full stretch, and this is the best you're going to get. What did you expect? Do you even know what it's like being alive right now? Somebody's probably emailing someone else right now. I'm only good for my carbon. I'm offset by tax breaks and charmed by incentives for love. Land prices are improbably going up.
Couples addicted to showing me the place among the shadows where I shall be cast.
The sky is frozen like it's been stuffed at the back of a fridge. I have been winded like a horse, stashed in the outbuildings like a corpse, strung up like roadkill meat, free and illegal, and broken all the way through. Shook up like change, rolled up, crushed between forefinger and thumb, kept in a bag, lost on the tube, befriended by cats, stuck all over with hairs, and making peace with the corners, the undersides.
To aim at difficult meaning with a presumed arrangement between colleagues to minimise levels of non-meaning to below a legitimate threshold.
Making my peace with corners and the undersides of insects and the enormous cells of their eyes. Non-being is the new being. Mu-you is the new you. One of the things about the self is that its edges bleed and please.
That poetic collaboration as a social form is a residue squirted by the failure of collective action has always been recently, and locally this residue has acquired the property of acute couple. I once stayed at a man named Ed Luca's house for the night to survive. The towel he lent me was alive.
I get so sick of these poetry boys. Always making a fuss. I get so sick of all these poets writing poems about love like it's the final, cleverest, last metaphor. Love. If you were in love with me, you'd shut the fuck up about it.